The COP29 summit in Azerbaijan has agreed to a compromise deal on climate financing. The deal will see more than $460 billion a year spent by 2035, helping developing nations adapt to climate change. Earlier, delegates from Pacific Island nations walked out, disrupting the summit, which had already been extended by a day. Developing nations had been asking for nearly $2 trillion a year in funding by 2035, with India expressing its discontent strongly at the summit.
It is in continuation of several such unfortunate incidents that we have seen in not following inclusivity, not respecting the positions of countries. We had informed the presidency, we had informed the Secretariat that we wanted to make a statement prior to any decision on the adoption. However, and this is for everyone to see, this has been stage managed, and we are extremely disappointed with this incident.
Well, for more on this, Anna Skarbek, CEO of Climateworks Australia, joins us. Hi, Anna. Thank you for your time.
Good morning.
So we finally have a funding deal, but it certainly hasn't been an easy journey to get here. We've seen the meeting run into overtime. We've seen walkouts by several island nations. I mean, how difficult has this been to broker?
Well, it's obviously difficult and it's going to remain difficult. The stakes are very, very high for vulnerable nations and in fact for all of our nations. Developed countries are not immune to the damage that will come from increasing climate change, and the impacts are acute for our friends and neighbours in Pacific Islands and also in Southeast Asia, as well as other developing countries. So this will remain a continued area of dispute and the need for accelerated action for many years to come. What has been agreed is some progress, and there is now funding to work with, and it's clear that the developing nations will maintain a very strong call that this be increased rapidly in the future.
Yeah, so this final deal is a compromise. Developing nations had been asking for nearly $2 trillion a year. The previous commitment was $100 billion. Do you think $460 billion is enough? Is it a good number?
Look, it's not enough yet, but it's a significant step up, and there will need to be significantly more. It's part of a deal that's over $1 trillion, and indeed the ask was for $2 trillion. What we do know is that investment in climate solutions works, and that we can twin economic development with climate change action by pursuing zero emissions solutions in all sectors of the economy. So what we want to see now is that the money that is on the table is used really rapidly for those twin goals of providing clean energy and energy access, as well as innovation in infrastructure, and to see that this builds the momentum for much more development support and investment in the next year and the many years ahead.
Yeah, we did just hear there from a representative from India's delegation. She called this an optical illusion, and she said that this money will not address the enormity of the challenge of climate change. Do you think this is a case of something being better than nothing at this point?
Well, there's very understandable disappointment from developing countries because the challenges are enormous, and we have known for many, many years now about the extent. So each year at COP there are high ambitions and always expectations that are not met. But each year we march together and take as many steps forward as we can. And the job is never done. We must continue to make this a national and international priority every single year, and to continue to get better at it together at these moments and in between as well.
And I also wanted to ask you about this deal that's been struck on carbon offsets, a framework for carbon credit trading that's backed by the United Nations rather than credits being traded in an unregulated way. Do you welcome that move?
Yes, it's been the result of almost a decade of negotiations, and there are some really important things to understand. We need all measures to incentivise investment towards carbon sequestration and zero emissions solutions, and to ensure that all economic development is aligned with those goals so that we can embed net zero emissions as a normal part of the way businesses and nations develop. Certainly what we've seen is that the focus is on carbon credits rather than carbon offsets. Indeed, over the time of the negotiations, it has become very clear that international standards now will not accept carbon credits being purchased in exchange for any effort in actually reducing the underlying emissions. It's an and situation where we need to invest in nature-based solutions and carbon sequestration, carbon credits, such as through these new market mechanisms. But at the same time as reducing the industrial and energy emissions to do both at the same time. And we've seen that that's the way policy measures are being developed in Australia and other economies. And there's now an international mechanism that all nations can use, but it doesn't come at the expense of undertaking the emissions reductions activities in each nation, as well as investing in the nature-based solutions opportunities to repair nature at the same time as storing carbon.